For the past several years, Charles County government has produced a series each December called The Gift of Information, providing our listeners and viewers with a deeper look into a relevant topic that impacts our community. This December, we are sharing The Gift of Information, Environmental Care and Climate Resiliency, a 3-episode series that I, Doria Fleischer, your Community Engagement Coordinator, am honored to be hosting. Building a resilient community is a high priority for Charles County government, and we want our residents to have as much information as possible so that we can all work together to prepare for, respond to, and recover from current and future climate issues. We hope you'll accept this gift of information about environmental care and climate resiliency from Charles County government and pass it along to your loved ones and neighbors. Hello, Charles County. Welcome to The Gift of Information, our December 2024 series on climate resiliency and environmental care. Joining us for this episode is Beth Groth, our Climate Resilience and Sustainability Officer, and Noelani Brockett, the Planner in the Office of Climate Resilience and Sustainability. Thank you both so much for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
So I think I made it through the hardest part of this recording so far, which was saying your titles. That is quite the mouthful.
Absolutely.
So, Beth, tell us a little bit, please, about who you are, what you do for Charles County government and your department and division. And then Noelani, I'm going to ask you to do the same.
Sure. Well, welcome, Doria. So the Climate Resilience and Sustainability Officer position began, I guess, in 2021. It's a fairly new position, but a lot of people would sort of come to me throughout the years. I've been here since 2006. A lot of people would come to me through the years and to work on various environmental initiatives. If you were here in 2010 and 11, you might remember a Green Expo that we held. So we've done a lot, and over the years, there's been more work that needs to be done in this area. And so I had been advocating for a position that really oversaw climate resilience and sustainability for the county. And so hence that position came about in 2021, and I applied for it and now sit in this position.
Awesome. And you are part of the Department of Planning and Growth Management, yes?
Correct. Yes, we are in the planning division.
Gotcha. Wonderful. And Noelani, tell us about you and how long you've been here. You're a relatively new member of our staff, yeah?
Yes, I am. I've been here for just a hair over a year now. And so I work with Beth to just do all things climate resilience and sustainability. So going after grant applications and kind of rallying the troops to get teams together to get things done that we're trying to go for.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're talking a lot about resiliency. That was the theme of this entire series, and climate resiliency is one of the topics we wanted to cover. Tell us about how that work relates to what you do on the day-to-day. How is, when we talk about climate resiliency, I mean, it's in your title, it's the name of your office, but what does that mean to you and your work?
So our office really is responsible for anything that's kind of under this realm. So if you think shoreline restoration, so that we're preparing the county and residents in terms of how they'll be impacted when it comes to climate change.
Okay.
Also, that's resilience, but also mitigation. So mitigation of greenhouse gas emissions is also very important to this work. So things that we do are looking at how can we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and our carbon footprint, and that also involves reducing energy and electrifying sort of the county as operations in terms of, as well as the county as a whole.
And it's interesting. I think about I was working with the affordable housing work group that also falls under the Planning and Growth Management Department. And one of your planners used a really interesting expression that talking about affordable housing is a nationwide issue that we need to put a Charles County lens on to solve. And when I hear you describing that, Beth, what I hear is that these are not issues that are unique to Charles County. It's how Charles County is responding to these nationwide and worldwide concerns, yeah?
Correct, yes. It's definitely a worldwide problem, but I think, jurisdictions around the world and the nation are trying to grapple with climate change and how to deal with it. But it's also something that even residents can do things themselves to help with this effort.
Kind of taking that big focus and then pulling it down to something that we can have day-to-day action on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I
Beautiful.
do think that there's also a kind of Charles County specific approach that we're trying to find. Yes, these tend to be global issues, but it will affect Charles County in somewhat unique ways. We do have a lot of freshwater shorelines, so it's thinking about what we're going to do to increase the health of those shorelines so that we maybe get less flooding. And it's finding ways to make our response to climate change specific to the residents of Charles County.
Tell us about, please, the programs, initiatives, and projects you have that are specifically tied to this work. So what are you guys doing on the day-to-day that residents can be looking for that promotes climate resiliency?
Sure. So one of the initiatives we're doing right now, and a lot of residents will be able to see in place, is that we're working with our local electric cooperative, SMECO, to install electric vehicle charging infrastructure.
Okay.
So we are placing, or rather SMECO is placing electric vehicle charging stations around at different county-owned properties. So we have charging stations at Laurel Springs Park. We have it at White Plains Park, the Health Department, the Community Services Building, the Waldorf Senior and Rec Center.
Okay.
So we have a number of them around the county. I think we have close to 20. And so this initiative is helping us to build the infrastructure. So right now, I'm sure residents are very aware that we're trying to, the country is trying to electrify and increase our electric vehicle usage. So a lot of people are buying new electric cars, but they need to have a place to charge and plug in. So we've been doing I think a pretty good job of getting them around to different places in the development district. And I think eventually we'll need to move into the rural areas and work to increase electric vehicle infrastructure there. But for right now, we have increased, like I said, to about 20 new stations.
Beautiful. So that as residents purchase electric cars, they know that around the county, at least in the more higher populated areas for now, any of those are available that they could park at and charge up. Beautiful.
That's correct.
What other projects, initiatives are you guys working on towards climate resiliency?
So we just got a grant with Department of Energy. It's called the EECBG, which is the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant. I'll let Noelani kind of talk a little bit about that.
I'm impressed you could just spit out the acronym alone. That's wonderful. We do love acronyms in government, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Noelani, tell us about that one, please.
Yeah. So that EECBG grant, geez, a little redundant, is for our county fleet. So the SMECO chargers that we have are more community facing. Those are going to be things that people within the community can use. But now we need to look at what is it going to take for us as a county to lead by example and get some more EV or low emission, no emission vehicles within our county fleet. So in order to do that, we're going to need first the charging infrastructure. So this grant is for technical assistance from the Department of Energy.
Okay.
And that is going to allow us to look at our various county facilities and see where might we need electrical upgrades, where might we have the existing electrical capacity to install electric vehicle chargers. And that's going to allow us to phase in these electric vehicles into our fleet.
Beautiful. And I'm always appreciative when I hear about ways that county government is both looking in and looking out. Like, our residents are going to need it for this, but also we're internally, like, we need that infrastructure. And I appreciate what you said about we have to kind of lead by example. If we're encouraging residents to be more electric vehicle friendly, then we also, with our number of vehicles on the road. Excellent. All right. So I know an important project initiative right now is the Climate Action Plan. Are we ready to dive into that?
Yes.
Okay. So this one I know is near and dear to both of your hearts, and you've put a lot of work into this. Tell us about the Climate Action Plan.
So it's an initiative that kicked off last year. We kind of delved into the government operations side. So we talked to members of each department and sort of worked with them to figure out kind of the things that we can do as a government to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and become more resilient. So those are the two things that a climate action plan really focuses on. You know, how do we as a county, as county government, as well as just the county as a whole, how do we reduce our greenhouse gas emissions? And then also what are the ways that we can prepare ourselves to become more resilient to climate change? Because being more resilient means that, we're able to better prepare and withstand the issues that are coming, because we know that there are some things that we absolutely cannot. We're already seeing flooding now.
Right.
We're not going to get rid of the flooding.
So it's kind of a two-part. How can we change what we're doing to do better in the future, but also in the present that we're in right now, how are we going to be as safe and sustainable as possible? Is that
Correct.
accurate?
How can we adapt?
How can we adapt? Okay, beautiful. So the Climate Action Plan, one of the things that I love about it is that it has a community engagement component, yeah?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we are gearing up. We're actually holding 4 virtual interactive webinars.
Okay.
And those will be for the community in order to help them better understand climate change and what the county is doing and this process overall. And then we will move into about 5 countywide, so they'll be held at different locations, 5 public meetings where you can also come out and voice your opinion, learn more about the project, and help us come up with recommendations and actions. So a climate action plan is all about action.
Right.
So it's how we implement the climate actions that get put in that plan.
So if I'm understanding correctly, it's kind of a two-part, just like you did internally with our departments, of saying to residents, what are you noticing? What are you worried about? What are your concerns? And then also, and what do you think we should be doing about it? Did I state that accurately?
Correct. Yes.
Beautiful. And Nolani, what are some of the things you're hoping, and I don't mean hoping to hear as in like we come in with a preset idea, but what do you hope to get out of this? Why is this community engagement component an important part of this action plan?
So I think that I really hope to get out of that is what I was talking about before, making this plan Charles County specific. Okay. So what do people out in the agricultural conservation zones want to see out of a climate action plan? What could they use? What programs would they like to see to help them adapt to climate change? What do the people in our more urban districts want to see? Are they looking for more trees? Are they looking for less trees? I don't know. Whatever they want to see the county doing to help them adapt to climate change and to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions.
And what I really appreciate about you saying that, Nolani, is that if, Beth, to go back to your point, if the point of the plan is to actually have action, to do something, it can't be a one size fits all. It has to be these different components of how each of us live, work, and play in the county is going to impact what we want, what we're concerned about, but also what we're ready, willing, and able to do about it. So it sounds like we really need that community input to make a plan that has value to all of our different community members. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping we can get that engagement in and have people really want to participate in this so much.
Yeah.
I want to be very transparent that we know that when we use words like climate change, when we use words like resiliency, there is a lot of perhaps anxiety, but also misinformation, concerns. I think it is something that can be a challenging topic to talk about. And I'm hoping you guys can share some of the myths, the misinformation, the education that you wish was floating around the community, along with some of that perhaps anxiety, or what can we do to be better educated? What are some of the things you'd like to clarify?
So one thing I definitely think should be clarified, and what I hear a lot from residents, or I see a lot on social media from residents or others who are engaging with our posts, is that they're worried that Charles County's development is running rampant, and that's not a true statement, and I hope that people watching this will engage more with us and learn more about that issue in particular. We have been doing an annual report with the Planning Commission for many, many years. And I was working on that since I kind of got to Charles County. And really, we've been staying pretty steady with, a little over 600 to 700 building permits every year. So if we were running rampant, there'd be a lot more of that happening. And I think what's happening is people are seeing the development in St. Charles specifically, which they have a planned unit development and an agreement with the county. And so they have so many lots and things they're able to develop. And so I'm worried that they're sort of broadcasting that around the county, portraying that around the county that development's running rampant, when in fact I don't believe it is. It's just there's things happening in that part of the area of our county.
Right. That are very visible. It's kind of what you notice.
Visible. Yes. Right. It's disheartening when you see a lot of trees come down.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are some trade-offs, and that's why we have a development district, and we're trying to put development in that area and reserve the outer areas for to be more rural and agricultural based.
And it's interesting, Beth, because your office is part of the planning and growth management department,
is,
as in your
yes.
coworkers are the ones managing that plan. This isn't like a good guy and a bad guy or an I want and a you want. Your peers are the ones managing that development, yes?
They are. And it, there's a development review process, obviously, with, development that is going on. And while that work is very different from what we do, we still need to know kind of the pulse on the county to ensure that, we know what's going on, and we can help provide recommendations and actions and things that can help that process, so that we're not seeing such negative impacts from development.
That makes sense. Excellent.
And
please.
Yeah, if I can cut in.
Yeah.
I do totally understand, because I live in St. Charles, and when you go somewhere and you're used to seeing a stand of trees, and then one day you come in and it's like bulldozers and not as many trees, that definitely can look pretty scary. And it's not something that you want to see, but it is about understanding that there are safeguards in place to make sure that the development is not outpacing our ability as a county to still be resilient, to still have stands of trees and whole forests. We took 37,000 acres out of those. We put them into the priority preservation area, so those are going to be maintained kind of more naturally. So there are safeguards in place to keep the development from running rampant. And I would say also, as another kind of myth that I see around, is that I feel like there's this idea that climate action is this either or. So that either you put in a bicycle lane or you install some street trees or you get economic development. But I think that climate action and sustainability can really enrich these efforts, like economic development. For example, the more people, it's been shown, the more people who are biking as opposed to in cars, they're more likely to stop places because they're going slower. There's not 4 lanes of traffic they have to cut through to take a right off the road. So they're actually more likely to patronize a local ice cream shop or a brunch restaurant. And so you actually get more local spending when you have more people outside of cars, walking the community, biking the community, rolling the community. So I think that these actions can really be mutually beneficial. It's just making sure that we integrate them and getting that community input. How would you like to see this go in a way that will enrich your experience in the county?
Nolani, that's, I think, such an important part to touch on, and circles back to why the engagement part is so important, right? If you are in the agricultural district, you might want something different than if you're in the urban district, but they don't cancel each other out. This isn't a but, this is a and we can really have some benefits on all sides, yeah? Beautiful. Well, I appreciate hearing. I think it can feel very heavy when you think about climate resiliency, and it can feel, when we talk about climate change, that kind of like, oh, it's, what if it's too late? What can we do? And I appreciate both of you being here to say, like, it's okay. We're gonna do some things to mitigate some stuff that we know is already heading our way, while also making plans to be bigger, better, stronger in the future. Yeah. Excellent. If you could leave us with what's the one thing you want people to walk away knowing and sharing? I'm such a firm believer that our best spokespeople for the county are our residents who are engaged and educated and can say to their friends, family, and neighbors, like, I listened, I learned, I heard, I watched, and I want you to know too. What's a takeaway you'd love people to share?
I think really just to participate in our process for the climate action plan. I mean, we're just getting started with the community side of things, and we really want people to come out and give us their opinions and talk to us. That's the best way to make sure that your voice is heard and get, some of your suggestions and things to be considered.
Love it. And I appreciate, Beth, that it's, don't just tell us what we want to hear, but give us that honest feedback. Tell us what you're looking for, what would make this plan work for you. Yeah,
absolutely.
Beautiful. Nolani, what's something that you really want people to walk away remembering?
I would say remembering that the county is going to grow. Everywhere is going to grow. And so it's not about whether or not we are going to provide a Charles County that is available to everyone, whether or not we're going to provide housing so that people can live in Charles County. It's how are we going to make this Charles County the best Charles County that it can be for everyone in the county, whether it's current residents or future residents who are not yet here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'll make sure in the show notes we put all of the information about how people can make it to these engagement efforts and see the work that you're doing. I'm excited you guys are on our Stay Engaged Charles County website where people can go and learn more about the different projects and initiatives and sign up for notifications. So I'll make sure we share that. Thank you so much for being here. Nolani Brockett, our planner, and Beth Groth, our officer in the Climate Resilience and Sustainability Office. You guys do win for best long title, I have to say. You really earned that. Yeah. But it really says it all to the great work that you're doing. And I appreciate knowing that we've got two passionate, strong, and educated people helping to guide this process. So thank you so much for the work you do, and thank you for being here today.
Great. Thank
you,
Doria.
so much. Yeah.
We hope that this episode about climate resiliency and sustainability has added to the information that you have and can share. We're happy to share that gift with you, and we hope that you will continue to pass it on this holiday season and beyond. Thanks so much, Charles County. Take care, stay safe, and stay engaged.
Thanks for listening. If you like this podcast and want to hear more, search Charles County Government on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And be sure to like and subscribe. We're also available on YouTube. Search Charles County Commissioners. And stay connected for all county news, information, and programs by visiting www.charlescountymd.gov/stay connected.